Hi. Welcome to the lecture, the second half of Chapter 4. In this part, we'll talk about the chapters on networking, cloud computing, but we're going to be spending more like the internet and the web, Internet of Things, things of that nature. So, let's go on to... if I can get my computer to do what I want. Now let's talk a little bit about the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. The internet itself is just a infrastructure, connection of computers, hardware, routers, things that we'll learn later in this class, cables. So it's the infrastructure of the physical stuff. The World Wide Web consists of server and client software and standards and languages to combine that deliver services across the internet. So you got one that's kind of like the hardware, and the other part is like the software, like we've been talking about. Now, if we look at how it works, there's several terms here. There's a lot of definitions in this chapter. Actually, this whole class has a lot of definitions, but the hyperlink, it's just a link, highlighted text and graphics that in a web document that, it's highlighted, underlined, you click it, you go there. The browser is the software you use to view web pages. I happen to be using Chrome right now, but used several others. And then a website is just a collection of pages on a particular topic. It's just like I pull open a filing drawer and I've got a series of files on accounting, blah, 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 blah. Several different sheets in there. Now, what makes up each one of those sheets? This website is made up in a hypertext markup language, HTML. And it's just a standard language that has been defined over the years to allow you to format pages, layouts, placement, links, and putting the content in. Now, the HTML has what it's called tags, and basically it's just a indicator that tells the browser how to format text to be inserted. Am I bolding something? What color am I putting? Am I calling a link? Am I calling a program? Extensions, intensible markup language is just a language to describe the transport data and store data on the web. Cascade style sheets are more for formatting, and so you kind of get the XML and the CSS files coming together into the HTML file, which then leads to your wonderful spreadsheet. Now, there are some web programming language, JavaScript and Java, that have been around for quite a few years that help create web pages that can be used. But there are several other languages out there that are being used to help develop websites, from ASP.NET all the way to Python. Some of these are easier, harder to use. The one that's up and coming is probably Python, and probably the one that's falling by the wayside a little bit, maybe PHP. So, and the other ones have other specific purposes, but can be used for web development. Now, as far as types of services, you can actually develop some own. You can use XML to, it's used within web pages to transfer data, like we said earlier. But transfer to where? Well, companies like Amazon has web services. They built a whole business around infrastructure that allows Amazon to make content online to available so that I don't have to develop a lot of the stuff myself. I can have a place that they can store it. I don't have to worry about setting my own data center up. I don't have to worry about running a lot of things. So they've got some services for fee that help you do what this stuff does. Now, there are definitely some popular tools out there for developing it. Adobe Dreamweaver, RapidWeaver for Mac developers. Some products make it easy to develop web page content in interconnected services. Some of the .NET, I'm not quite sure I agree with that one, but maybe. But there are several products that help you develop this. There are even some companies out there that actually have pre-canned websites that you can purchase and just add some pictures and content and you're off and running. Now the question is, we all know what it's used for. I mean, you've heard the term, you may have heard the term Web 2.0, and they just did some restructuring on software that's being used and how it shared information. And definitely know about social media. We know about there are tens of millions of applications out there that the web browser can access. News, education, jobs, search engines. I mean, we know what a search engine is. Google is probably the largest one and allows you to get anything and everything, like answers to tests. But the question is, which one comes up on top? Well, that's by a search engine optimization algorithm. So it's just a technique that Google uses to help improve a website's ranking in the search results. You can do instant messaging, microblogging, status news, video conferencing, blogging, podcasting. Nobody's used it for online media or entertainment. I don't think that's happened yet. Not movies, games, shopping, travel. But there are different types of internet. Well, there's an intranet, which a company can create an internal network that's allowing, using the same internet and the World Wide Web standards, but it restricts access to it, to like within the company. Now, there's an extranet. It's still using the web technology, but it links some of the company's intranet with its customers. So now, and partners and suppliers. So it's still only company related, but now not everybody can go on. So the intranet is within the company. Internally only used by company employees. Extranet is I start tacking on suppliers and customers. So that's the distinction between those two. Virtual private network, VPN. It's a connection between, it's a private connection between, a secure connection between 2 points on the internet. Tunneling is a term that's used by which a VPN can transfer information between data. And basically what it's doing is it's encapsulating IP packets. So it's putting information around it to secure it and before it sends it on the internet. Now, we've probably heard the term Internet of Things. And basically the Internet of Things is with everything today has computers built in, sensors built in, software. Your car is a good example. In some cases, I've seen television ads of a refrigerator having sensors in there telling you when you're low on milk or eggs. So Internet of Things is starting to communicate things together that we've never done before. It used to be computer to computer. Well, now built-in computers on every little device in your home can start talking to each other. And a sensor is just a device that can sense something about its environment, whether it's weather, whether it's water, whether it's heat, light, whatever. Any of that stuff can be censored, and if it can be sensed, if I can develop a sensor, I can develop a computer that I can put it on the internet so that somebody else can monitor it and see what's going on. And these are just a few things from, sensors gather things, it passes it through the network. It puts it in our database like we've seen in the past. We've got to do something with it. We combine it with other services from the systems, analyze it, and display it so somebody can actually have some value to it. Some of the examples of companies that are using Internet of Things, anywhere from asset monitoring all the way down to traffic monitoring. So there's different types of application. Some just connect and monitor, some control and react, some predict and react, and then some actually try to transform and explore information. The next big topic is cloud computing. Now, in my opinion, cloud computing has been around a long time. Because what we do in the cloud is I can store software and storage. Someone else can manage that. I don't have to store that all at home or in my small business. I can pay another company to store it and then proceed to get it when I need it. Well, back in the 60s and 70s, you would take your computer program, you'd run it down to the computer center, you'd give it to somebody, they would do their stuff, I'd come back later, get my information. So it just meant that someone else was in control of running all the computing information, programs, data, and I just had to worry about making sure that things worked right. Now, there's a couple of different types of cloud. Let me see, did I miss this slide? No, I guess not. There's a public cloud. It just means a service provider, it allows anybody and everybody to access that information if you want that. And it can be faster and cheaper for your infrastructure. Of course, what's a big key when you talk about putting stuff out in the public, you worry about security. So if I want that, I want to bring it back into, if I want to pay somebody to manage it, to maintain this, is I can use the public cloud and pay somebody else to do the service. And there's basically three major categories. I can do infrastructure as a service. That means somebody has the work environment, the computers, the networking stuff, and I'm just paying for it. I'll do all the software behind it, and they're just going to be the hardware. There is a software for service, so I can have my own hardware, but I can run software remotely. Or there's a platform as a service, which kind of is a combination of the two. This gives you just a rough idea of that environment where you got, infrastructure, like somebody storing all the virtual machines. As a software, you get, all the email collaboration, relationship software, or you can get platform, which is operating system, programming language, database, server, all of that stuff comes into play. So now so that's the public. So what happens if I just want to have my own cloud? You can have a private cloud, and it's just for your customers, your business, and an organization then implements this themselves. Now you can have a on-premise private cloud, so everything is on you own the computer network, you've got everything managing thing. Or I can pay somebody else. So I can pay Amazon to say, hey, you manage my private cloud. I only want my people on it, but you're going to run all the hardware. And then there's a hybrid, which is kind of a combination between private and public clouds. So it just depends on what you're trying to do with your business. And then there's one more thing that's out there. It's called autonomic computing. And basically it's the ability of an IT system to manage itself, to adapt to changing conditions, and then make adjustments. And there's basically four, there may be more, but right now I think there's four, where they can either self-configure, they can heal themselves if something goes wrong, They can optimize themselves if under certain circumstances, or they can protect themselves against some kind of security violation. This advent of the web, the cloud computing, along with what we've talked about in networking, has really made this world a smaller place. We get access to information faster. We get information instantaneous. We can pretty much do anything we want, anywhere we want to go. I think it's only going to get faster. And companies and business that you're going to work for in the future are going to use this more and more. So I hope this helped a little bit to help understand the material in this. And if it did, I hope it hit. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.